Hey everyone, and welcome back or welcome to the channel. We are back with your favorite crossover, the 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo. Today we'll be doing a fuel economy run here on the highway and do a real-world test to see what you can receive here out of this crossover on a daily basis, or if you are going on a road trip this spring or summer. Just a bit of a refresher here with the 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan. With this being the SEL R-Line Turbo, you get 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive does come standard. Now, why is that important? Well, for all-wheel drive models for the 25 and 26 Tiguan, you get a fuel tank of 15.5 gallons, whereas the front-wheel drive version gets about 14.5. So a little bit of a difference there. Now, fuel economy comes in at right around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 29 miles per gallon on the highway. So theoretically, if you can average 29 miles per gallon on the highway, you're looking at around 450 miles on a full tank. Pretty impressive. So in today's video, we're gonna see if we can hit those numbers, maybe even overachieve as well with this vehicle. So to go over the guidelines for this test, let's hop inside and talk about that. So for this test, we are gonna be traveling as close to 100 miles as possible round trip to be fully accurate and to be scientific here with this fuel run test. Now, we are going to be making one stop halfway through at around 50 miles to go over what the fuel economy is looking like, and also maybe even talk about what the Volkswagen Tiguan offers in terms of its highway performance, its interior comfort, interior refinement, and maybe even go over why there might be better options out there at this particular price point, especially for around $45,000 here with the SEL R-Line Turbo. Next up, we are going to be filling this crossover with 89 octane. Now, I know some people are going to be saying, well, Mike, 87 is the recommended octane. You can go 93 with this being a turbo. Why using 89? 89 has been the octane I have used the entire time with this Volkswagen Tiguan. Also, I have 89 currently in the tank, so I don't want to mix the octanes here just to be a bit more accurate for this particular test. I can always come back and do an 87 and 93 run if you guys really want me to. But 89 is what I've been using for the last 3 months here with this crossover. When we are on the highway, we will be traveling at around 65 to 75 miles an hour. I will set the cruise control to 65 for most of the way. Part of the highway is a bit dangerous driving at 65 because you're going a little too slow here up in Massachusetts, so I might raise the bar just a bit more, but again, we'll cover that halfway through the trip. And lastly, for the drive mode that I'm going to be choosing here for the Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo, we will be in comfort, because I think a lot of you do drive in comfort mode with this trim. Eco, kind of boring. I don't think a lot of you will be driving primarily in eco. And then sport, it drinks up the fuel. So sport mode is a bit iffy here if you're trying to maximize that fuel range. So we've got all the parameters set here. Let's go fill up the Volkswagen Tiguan and set off on our journey. All right, so we got a full tank of gas. Let's begin this journey. I'm going to use a time lapse when we get on the highway, and let's see what we can get here out of the fuel economy for the Volkswagen Tiguan. As we're about to enter the highway here, the gauge is showing 415 miles, which thankfully we're not going 400 miles today because that would be a very long day for me. But I've seen as high as 425 after a refuel. So still, even at around 400 miles, that's pretty good. I mean, that's like going from Boston to as close to Buffalo, New York, I think, if you're going out west, and past New York City from Boston. So that's pretty good. So we're going to set this cruise control to about 65 miles an hour. Let's see how this goes. Quick update here. We're about 8 minutes into this drive, not even 10 minutes in. I have the cruise control set at 70 miles an hour because traffic is kind of light here at around 10:30 in the morning, just outside of Boston on I-95. And I don't know if you can see this on the digital gauge cluster. I am at 30.5 miles per gallon. So we're already overachieving here, not even 10 minutes in. We got traffic, not ideal at all. Well, currently I'm at 36.2 miles per gallon, so I'm not too concerned here about this ruining the fuel economy run. Another thing I want to talk about here, another aspect of this test, because I didn't bring this up at the beginning of the video, and I'm sorry about that, guys. For the climate control settings, I am at 65 degrees for the interior. Fan setting is at 1. It's not very warm or cold outside in mid to late April in Boston, so this wouldn't be representative of a drive during the spring or summer, but just wanted to throw that out there just to be very accurate and transparent on this drive for you guys. Also worth mentioning is that with the Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo, you do have adaptive cruise control. So even though I have set the cruise control to about 70 miles an hour, my average speed is at 50, and also I'm averaging around 65. Also, some other observations with the SEL R-Line Turbo is that this is where the Tiguan is at home. It's nice and quiet, it's composed, even with the larger tires. Yeah, you get some of that road noise, but the interior insulation is top notch here. Also with the leather trim seats, you're nice and comfortable on this drive, and I do feel tempted to turn on the massaging seats, but I don't know if that will play around with the fuel economy at all here, so I don't really want to test that out. But this is a relaxing and very luxurious drive so far. I'm not usually this relaxed on a drive. I like having some fun with my Volkswagen Tiguan. Also with the SEL R-Line Turbo, you do have travel assist as well, and we're going to turn that on here. And it will keep me in my lane. This is actually a great opportunity to test this out. I haven't done this with the SEL R-Line Turbo. Does a pretty good job of staying in its lane. I'm not very confident. As you can tell, my hands are almost on the steering wheel, but it's doing a pretty good job of staying in its lane. Yeah, even around this little bend here, nice and composed. Not bad at all. As you can tell, it's making some minor corrections. I don't like autonomous driving. I'm not a fan of it, guys. I know I probably should be, being a journalist, but it's not it. It's not it. Now, I am applying no pressure here in this corner, and it's handling it really well. So let's test this lane change here on camera for you guys. Get the turn signal. Wow! So it can change lanes on its own. So on highway, it can basically just drive itself. I mean, yes, you need to oversee it, parent it a bit, but not a lot of input when you're in adaptive cruise control settings and you have travel assist. This is really, oh my gosh, are you serious? You have an RS5, you have a nice car. Why would you do that? That was close. That was really close. For the final 20 minutes of that first drive to the halfway point, it became uneventful. Raised the cruise control to about 75 miles an hour as traffic really lightened up on Route 24. And yeah, the Tiguan handled really well. It performed well, it was comfortable, it was quiet. I could relax, listen to some music. Really had no complaints there. So about a mile away from my exit to get off the highway, we've done 45 miles here on this drive, about 5 miles away from the halfway point, and I'm at 37.5 miles per gallon. Really impressive here. I was hoping to get to 38. I don't think it's going to be possible, but still, we're overachieving for this test. hopping outside the Volkswagen Tiguan for a minute to stretch my legs and loosen up for the second half of this drive. I want to give you guys a few more observations here on this crossover for travel assist and adaptive cruise control. Believe it or not, I have not discussed any of that here in my 3 months of ownership. Now, with the adaptive cruise control settings, I do like the fact that it is customizable, so if someone is in front of you, it will slow down, but if someone's about 2 or 3 car lengths ahead of you, that won't be too much of an issue. It won't slow it down too aggressively, which I do like. Now, travel assist, I'm really impressed here. I typically don't like autonomous driving features, but it can hold its lane and also can lane change on its own with very minimal input. So if you're someone who is going to be going on longer road trips, you can basically just relax with this crossover and really put no thought or energy into the drive, which I think is something that a lot of you would be looking for here out of a crossover that does replicate a luxury crossover experience with the massaging seats, the leather trim seats, and also with this crossover being designed and engineered to be for more highway driving. Yes, it has stiffer suspension. Yes, it's not the most pleasant crossover to drive in the city, but on the highway though, that's where this crossover really becomes an appealing option here, and also an impressive option considering the fact that it's not a luxury crossover at $45,000. So just about ready to set off for the second half of this drive. I'm recharging the batteries for the cameras, recharging my own batteries, and maybe doing a thumbnail here with the trees in bloom, but that might not make sense with this being a fuel efficiency run. I might just wait for the gas station. And speaking of the gas station, I'm just gonna do one click. I'm not going to play any games here, just one click to get a rough estimate as to what I'm going to be averaging on this drive. And it's got me thinking. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. It was only moderate traffic, light uphill driving for some of that drive. But I was averaging close to 37.5 miles per gallon at 60 miles per hour. Now, the Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo, as I said before, has a tank of 15.6 gallons. To do the math there, and if you average 37.5 miles per gallon throughout your drive, that is close to 600 miles on a full tank. This is not a hybrid. This is not a plug-in hybrid or even a mild hybrid. To get close to 600 miles on the highway, that's impressive. That's really impressive. And also 37.5 miles per gallon is way above the 29 miles per gallon on the highway that Volkswagen rates it as. So not only are we overachieving, but we have made this vehicle fuel efficient. We've made it practical in more ways than one on this test drive so far. Again, I'm getting way ahead of myself. There could be an accident on my way back, which will then throw off the numbers. But still though, for this particular test, this is exceeding my expectations. And if you're someone looking at buying a road trip vehicle, under $50,000, you don't need a third row, this right here might just be a fuel sipper instead of a gas guzzler. I'm really happy with this so far. So embarking on this drive home for the second half of this journey, hopefully getting close to 37.5 miles a gallon, maybe 38 if we're lucky. This test has gotten me thinking, because I don't usually try maximizing my fuel range. I'm not driving like a grandpa, and typically I'm probably in the left lane, maybe middle lane, and not driving the slowest. You know, having owned a Subaru WRX and Volkswagen GTI, I'm that enthusiast that likes having some fun. But this drive more specifically has taught me just how dangerous the highway can be. Because I almost had my front bumper taken off by an Audi RS5, and that was close. That was really close. We had that Subaru Crosstrek weaving in and out of traffic, and then that Ford Explorer which didn't know what lane it wanted to be in. Now, typically, I wouldn't find myself in that situation because I would be in the left lane or driving a little quicker than going 65 miles an hour. But if you think about it, for the average driver out there that's just trying to get to their destination, that's just trying to get home, I understand why there might be some fear. Because if you have an aggressive driver like that, that puts you in a dangerous situation. You know, that driver is putting others in harm's way, and that's not something I've ever thought about. Having driven for what, I think 17 years now? That's just never occurred to me. But this drive, being a bit slower, you know, doing 65 miles an hour, doing the speed limit, I'm seeing, you know, it's amazing how there's not more accidents out there. And okay, like Route 24 that I'm on right now, this is notorious for some really bad accidents, fatal accidents, and these people down here drive really aggressive. I've seen a lot of weaving in and out of traffic throughout my time going to dealerships down here or just cruising back from Rhode Island. This is not the safest highway. But you realize how much we take for granted, right? Like, we're in this box and we think we're safe, but someone else out there might have different plans, might have something else in mind. And, you know, that is something I've reflected on today. It's like I'm trying to just get to my destination and do this video, and you have people out there that have no regard for anyone else but themselves. One final update here with the Volkswagen Tiguan for this fuel economy run. I am about 11 miles away from the gas station, give or take. I'm currently averaging 34.5 miles per gallon because now I'm going uphill. I'm going northbound, so that is going to play around with the fuel economy a bit. So not getting 38 miles per gallon, but this is real world testing. I think mostly my impressions here, because I know what this crossover is all about, what it is offering. You have a good amount of power to pass slower drivers, but it's really the technology. It's the adaptive cruise control, it's the lane centering, it's the travel assist. And the travel assist, I'm really impressed by this. I don't test out autonomous driving, not my thing, not my jam. I'm not that type of content creator. If you're looking for that type of insight, definitely look elsewhere. But I gotta be honest here, it hasn't failed. I've only had to override it once or twice, both up and down. So the fact that it is reliable on these roads and in this type of traffic, love to see it. You know, like I said, you can passively drive this crossover. I mean, it's not fully autonomous, but I think the technology for what Volkswagen's offering here, it's most certainly up there with its closest rivals. So just pulled into the gas station. We did about 99 miles. This trip was supposed to be 9.5. That won't show up on the digital gauge cluster. So close to 100 miles there. 34.5 miles per gallon at 57 miles per hour. And let's see what we can get here.
Chili inside now. Doritos for the bold.
More rewards, more savings, more special offers.
One click, everyone knows the rules. All right, so we have made it home here. It is time to go over the fuel economy. The official numbers from this drive. You saw in the digital gauge cluster, we basically did 100 miles. I'm going to round up to 100 because when I looked at the Google map, it was basically 99.5. So I'm going to round up there for that one, even though some people are going to be like, that's not accurate. We're going to do it anyway. Also, you saw 34.6 miles per gallon on the digital gauge cluster, and then at around 60 miles per hour. So it's time to do the math. Let's see what we got here. So 100 divided by 2.915 equals 34.3. So that's almost dead accurate to what the Volkswagen Tiguan's showing us here. But more importantly, according to Volkswagen, on the highway is 29 miles per gallon. And what we have here going uphill and downhill is a combined 34.3. That's pretty good there. That's really good. So the Volkswagen Tiguan does get better fuel economy than the numbers suggest on paper. So, like we talked about before during the midpoint of this test, if you're going downhill and you're traveling one way, you could probably stretch 500 miles on a full tank, if not more. But at 34.3, let's multiply that. Let's do more math here. We'll multiply that by 15.6, and that's roughly 535 miles on a full tank. Great stuff to see here. Really good stuff. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys and it brought some value. I don't think anyone's done a fuel economy test for the SEL R-Line Turbo, but it's great to know that even with 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, you're going to get some great fuel economy. And I'm at 89 octane. I might be able to stretch that at 87. So we might get even better numbers here in a future test. But guys, let me know in the comment section below. You want me to do this again with 87 octane, maybe even 93, to get a better idea as to what this vehicle is offering? Because I gotta say, I'm impressed, but also I'm even more excited about this crossover now. This is going to be a great road trip vehicle this summer for me. So in some ways, yes, this was a scientific test, but this was also a way for me to understand what I can expect later on this year when I go out on a road trip for Watkins Glen later this year. But guys, once again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you guys next time.